Hey guys. Oh, my hair. Anyhow, alright, so I'm doing another video here. What the fuck is going on with this? I hate it when I leave those waters out. Alright, man, so I'm doing another video. As some of you subscribers may be aware, I do a lot of videos sometimes. So I do a lot of videos, right? Well, all you gotta do is look at my channel. I've got like, I'm pushing 600 fucking videos here pretty soon, probably. Won't be long. So I'm in this town, and I've been briefly talking about how, there's a handful of people that really want to try to change this town. They want to do some good in this town because it's a corrupt town. It's corrupt. And this has been an ongoing issue with this town for decades. It's always run by corrupt people, and it's just run into the dirt. Business owners are fed up. There's a lot of people, for whatever different reasons, they just, nobody has ever been happy here with the local government. And because this is a town out in the middle of nowhere, there's little to no oversight. So nobody ever hears about what's going on here or anything. And so I've been talking with this guy who's been, for the last, at least probably 12 or 15 years, fighting to the corruption in this town. And he's, he would like to get people together so that, and you know how that goes. I mean, so anyway, I've been entertaining the idea of getting involved, And so I talked to him today because I really want to be as transparent with him as I possibly can. And I just felt the need to let him know that my reason for getting involved is because of what happened with the death of Todd Minshaw, and that's my reason. Because if I'm right, which I'm almost sure I am, he was murdered, and because of his murder is how my whole life got turned completely upside down. And by this town not doing anything about Todd Minshaw's murder is what caused, me a lot of fucking misery and pain. And that I don't want to live in a town with the corrupt police department. I don't want to live in a town where the police department and the town doesn't care that there's a murderer who's murdering townspeople and walking free. I don't want to live in a town like that. So, I can either move or try to do something to make this a better place. And the chief of police here doesn't live in this town. Neither does the town manager, and neither does the code enforcement, the person who runs code. And these are, see, code enforcement and the chief of police are my problem, because the chief of police is not doing his job, and as a result, I have become a casualty of that. And so my reason for getting involved, if I do, which so far I have been, is just because of what happened to me. And so I had to let this guy know that my involvement is solely for that. I want to see this police I want to see this police department held accountable. And I want to know what happened to Todd Minshaw. I want to know if there was an investigation. What are the results of that investigation? I want to know what is going on. I am almost shocked, but why would I be, that this town does not care. See, the reason this town doesn't care about Todd Minshaw's death is because the police department hid it from this town. And this was like 3 years ago, and nothing has ever been done about any of it. And my whole life got completely turned upside down because of Todd Minshaw's death. And the most logical conclusion as to how that would be is because it was a murder. And the people involved got away with it and, came after me. I've never even met these people. I don't know any of these people. I don't want anything I just want to be left alone. I don't do anything to get involved in anything going on here. I keep to myself. I mind my own business. And whatever other people are doing is none of my business until they make it my business. And when what they're doing turns my whole fucking life upside down, and they don't even know me and I don't know them, and and the amount of damage they're causing is fucking destroying my life, well then it's my business. Then it's my business, okay? And so, I'm gonna go ahead and see about if this video goes, where people in this town see this video. And the people in this town don't know anything about the death of Todd Minshaw, so they don't know anything that I'm talking about. Except for, there's a faction of this town that knew about Todd Minshaw's death from practically the day he died. And all the people that knew about his death, the majority of them said that it was murder. Okay? And, the fire that happened on Elsie and Kofa in 2020, October 13th or 15th of 2022, that was where I lived, and in my opinion, that was arson because of the people. It had to do with all of the people surrounding Todd Minshaw. Todd Minshaw's closest circle of people around Todd Minshaw set that place on fire. And if I'm right that he was murdered, the people involved in his murder were the ones that set that place on fire. But, because there's no transparency at all in this town. Like what was it, 4 months ago, a police officer killed a resident of this town at the Pilot gas station right on Main Street. I mean, that was during the season that this happened, and there's no news. Why is there no news to report what is going on? The guy that the cop killed was a resident of this town, and his brother apparently still lives in this town. Doesn't anybody care about this? Don't you want to know what's going on? Don't you want to know what are the details of this? Or does it just not matter? I guess I'm asking the residents of this town, do you not even care that a cop killed somebody? Don't you want to know if that was justified or not? Or is it okay for a cop to just kill somebody and there's never any word of it spoken at all? I feel like police officers should be held accountable. They should be, the public has a right to know what happened with that guy that got killed by a cop at the Pilot gas station. Because it's the same thing with Todd Minshaw. A lot of people are saying that the cop murdered that guy. There are witnesses that were there that said the cop murdered him. It was a murder. It was an unjustified killing. Doesn't anybody care? I guess maybe I'm making the mistake in assuming that there are people in this town that would care if a cop murdered somebody right on Main Street. So these are just questions. So I'm willing to, go to the town council meetings and go there with the other people who have these concerns with the town. I'm willing to, because I have a reason to, because a lot of the problems that this town has have directly impacted my life, including my home getting burnt to the ground. And in my opinion, that was arson. And that arson is directly tied to Todd Minshall's death. And the police officers told me that was under investigation. Has there been any conclusion as to that investigation? Because if Todd Minshall was murdered, then it's about a 99.9% chance that my home burning down is directly connected to Todd Minshall's murder, if he was murdered. So, and these issues that I'm talking about are directly tied to the chief of police of this town. The chief of police of this town that doesn't even live in this town. And it also concerns the code enforcement. The whoever it is that runs code enforcement that also does not live in this town. I mean, it makes sense that there is no code enforcement since then whoever is in charge of that doesn't even live here. Because all you have to do is look at the property right next to Mike Roth. Sean's property. There's like 10 RVs all plugged into one little tiny power box about this big. Maybe 2. There might be, it's a total fire hazard. Nobody's doing nobody's doing their job. Nobody here is doing their job. There's no press. I hate to say it. I don't mean to go after anybody that might happen to be running a newspaper here, but in case you weren't aware, newsflash, there's never any news in those newspapers ever. And that's a massive concern for me, because if there were actual news where the residents of this town could be updated on the news in this town, well, then people would have found out about Todd Minshall's death. There would have been an article saying that that there's speculation as to how he died. Here are the details to the death of Todd Minshall. His body was found just right on the outskirts of town. Here's the newspaper article in the newspaper. Oh, now what happened? Oh, now here's a fire, a mysterious fire that happened. Yeah, let's go interview the people that lived at that property and find out what happened. Because if somebody would have interviewed me, I would have told them it was arson and it was directly tied to Todd Minshall's death. And that people in town are saying Todd Minshall got murdered, and if he did get murdered, then that fire was directly tied to Todd Minshall's death. And here's why. And there's a newspaper, there's news. What happened at the Pilot gas station when the cop killed some local resident here at 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 months ago in December or whatever, November or December. What happened? Here's news. See, if the news will if there was news about Todd Minshall, then when the fire may not have even happened, because the arsonist would have known. People are actually paying attention to what's going on in this town. Maybe we better be a little more careful about what we do instead of just running around wild doing whatever we want and getting away with it. Well, it looks like the newspaper is paying attention to what's going on in this town. So anyways, I'm really upset. I'm really upset with this town because of what happens to me. And nobody even knows what happened to me. And this would be my reason for getting involved in recalling the city council and getting involved in these things. and demanding answers, like what is going on. When I was at the town council, not city council, town council. When I was at the town council meeting 4 or 5 days ago, the biggest defense that the town council had when those 40 or 50 people in there were all in opposition to the town council, you know what their rationalization was? It was that you guys don't know what's going on. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what well, there's another reason. Why aren't we being informed of what's going on? The reason that the people in town don't know what's going on is because there's no transparency. No one is informing the town as to what is going on with the town council. Whereas if there was some kind of news, then at least people would know what was going on. And see, this is why the town council doesn't want you to be informed, because then they can say, well, we're making this decision. The reason we're making this decision, you don't understand the reason behind it because you don't know. Well, that's exactly the point. They don't want you to know. That's why there is no media, there is no news, like what's going on in this town. That's why they suppress any and all news that's going on here. That way the people in charge can say, we're making this decision. And when the town says, why? That's stupid. Then the town council and all the people in charge can say, well, you don't understand because you're not informed as to why we need to make this decision. Don't you understand? Don't you see? They don't want you to be informed so they can continue to use that as an excuse to do whatever they want. I mean, they need to be held accountable. Some kind of newspaper or news media for this town would hold the town council accountable. I'm no expert on any of this. This is just my thoughts. It makes sense to me, though. That's why they're able to use that as an excuse. Oh, you townspeople, you pesky townspeople, you don't understand why we have to give the town manager $1,000 a month raise because you don't know what's going on. You aren't informed as to what is happening with the town council. Yeah, I wonder if that's by design. So they make sure to not have any news media in this town. That way they can say, oh, the reason we're making this decision, you don't understand because you're not informed. Well, maybe it's time for there to be some news media to inform people in this town on what's going on with the town council and the town managers and including the chief of police. And there needs to be news media so that people have the opportunity to be informed, if they would like to be, of what's going on with the town council and the town managers, including the chief of police, And so, I wanted to talk about this too. This is when I was completely fed up. There was a point where I remember the moment when I became intolerant of the fact that there's no news media in this town. And that was in 2023. It might have been it was either 2022 or 2023, during the season. I worked over on Kewen and right on the corner of Kewen and 95, and I heard through rumor, through word of mouth, because there is no news media in this town. I had to hear word of mouth from people talking around town that some child, like 9-year-old or something, got killed on that highway riding their bicycle from La Posa North or something, and into downtown Main Street, and on the bicycle ride got killed by a semi truck, and like right there, right during the season, How many thousands of people are camped in La Posa North and La Posa South? And how many thousands of people are here, for whatever reason, all these people come here during the season. And during that time, a child got run over and killed riding their bicycle from the campground up to town. And that's when I realized, because I started thinking about that. And I started thinking, well, wouldn't there be at some point in time there would be a newspaper article about it because there's a paper or two that circulates, that's printed once a month and circulates, and that's when I noticed there isn't even an article. No one even did an article on this child getting killed on the highway. And then when you start to look closely at the paper, one in particular, all the paper does is report on how the camel rides are coming and the balloon rides and how this town is just a wonderful haven of, like this is some tourist, this is just a great place. And I started to put two and two together and realize, okay, so they're intentionally not reporting what's happening in this town because they don't want to scare people away from this town. They're trying to draw people in for, money. So therefore they can't report anything bad going on in this town. But boy, anytime there's a camel ride, that's going to be on front page news that there's a camel ride in this town, right? But if some child gets run over, crickets, you won't hear anything about it. But if there's balloon rides, oh boy, you'll hear all about the balloon rides, right? And the camel rides and all the wonderful rainbows and butterflies and unicorn stuff that's going on in this town. You'll hear all about it in the paper. But if there's anything like a child getting run over right near Main Street, you won't hear a peep about it. And it's obvious why. They're running cover. They just don't want to print anything bad about this town because revenue. So it's obvious that whatever news media there is here, which there isn't, it's all connected with all the politics and stuff. So it's politically incorrect to report the news when a 9-year-old child gets run over by a semi right here in town during the season. That is politically incorrect to print that newspaper article. But if the camels are coming, oh boy, that's front page news when the camel rides are coming. So anyways, this is just me venting. This is just me venting my grievances with this town. These are the grievances that I have with this town. And it is all interconnected. Any and all you people that want to remove city council or town council, well, the newspaper person is sitting on town council, and they're not printing the news. I wonder why, right? Any of you that are upset that these town managers don't even live in this town, well, look at the crime going on here that does not ever get policed, but they'll quickly pull you over for not making a full stop or not using your blinker when you make a turn. Boy, you'll be quick to get a ticket from the police for that. But a murderer walking around free, nobody even cares. They'll make sure that nobody hears about that dead body that was mysteriously found. They'll make sure to sweep that under the rug. And to the townspeople, you don't care about any of this? You don't care that they'll pull you over for not using a blinker, but if there's a mysterious death, they'll make sure that nobody's talking about it, that nobody ever hears about it, and then it just disappears into the ether to be forgotten. Like again, the shooting at Pilot, the cops shooting that person at Pilot. That person was a resident here. Nobody cares to find out what happened. Have you not heard the rumors that people are saying that the cop murdered him? You haven't heard these rumors? And then you got the other side where the people say, oh, those are just tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists that are making up these rumors that the cop murdered that guy. He didn't murder him. It was a justified killing. Well, you know, if you want to stop all these rumors from spreading all over this town, maybe there should be some news media to report what's going on in this town. It might help, you know, quell these rumors. Because that's all you ever... The only thing that any newspaper here ever prints is about camel rides. That's it. Camel rides and balloon rides. And, you know, coincidentally, the person that runs that paper just happens to sit on the town council. And then the town council is telling you that you're not informed. So you don't have a right to weigh in on the town council's decisions because you don't understand, because you're not informed. Well, one of the 7 town councils that runs the damn town newspaper. Whose fault is it that the town isn't informed? Anyways, again, this is just me venting. But it's like, nobody cares about any of this? That's what confuses me the most. You know, maybe this town deserves all of this corruption if none of the townspeople care about it. Like, the townspeople have to care that the police are not investigating murders. And, you know, that none of these people are doing their job. The chief of police isn't doing his job. If, you know, if people are getting murdered and then their deaths are being swept under the rug, well, then the chief of police isn't doing his job. You know, if code enforcement is going after Mike Roth when his next door neighbor's property is 100 times worse than Mike's, well, then that means the code enforcement isn't doing their job. And it's obvious they're just coming after Mike for personal reasons, because their butt hurt, because Mike called him a poo-poo or something, right? You know, these people aren't doing their fucking... I'm trying not to cuss. These people aren't doing their job. Like, go drive past Mike's place and that neighbor next to Mike that has like 10 tweaker RVs camped on it with all the extension cords running to the power. Go look for yourself if you don't believe me. And that's where the fire happened. That's where I got attacked by arsonists. That's how that whole place burned down. Arsonists. So the fire department doesn't care if there's arson. The police doesn't care if there's murder. The code enforcement doesn't care about, you know, the situation over on Kofa. I was suggested to do a video. Somebody asked me to maybe do a video a day. This is my attempt at doing a video. But, yeah. And again, like I said, the town council is telling you that you don't understand, you don't have the information. And one of the 7 town councils is the one that runs the newspaper for this town. There's no excuse. Like, the town council woman that runs the town newspaper should be informing all of you on everything that's going on. The town council should be transparent and should be held accountable for what they do and say. Same with the chief of police and the police department should be held accountable. If a dead body shows up mysteriously here in this town, it should be in the newspaper and people should be asking questions. Like, is there a murderer? Was it a murder or not? And if you don't know, is there under investigation? And if so, what is going on in the investigation? Have you found out if it's a murder or not? Some people in town say that it's a murder. Again, I just assume people in this town would care if there were murderers walking around free murdering people. And I just assume people in this town would care if a police officer murdered somebody, you know. Like, I could be wrong in assuming this. And I'm starting to get the feeling that maybe I'm wrong in assuming that anybody in this town cares about anything going on here. So I'll just end it there. There's my attempt at doing a video.